Good evening. My name's Dick Sturgeon. I'm a workers advocate for an organization called Workers Have Rights Too. With me this evening is workers advocate Deb Borg, who has been a very valuable part of our organization for several years. This is the second of a two-part series that we've been doing regarding youth in the workplace. The first session we talked about the laws that apply to 14 and 15-year-olds as far as what hours they can work, what time of day they can work, and also the occupations that they can work in. A lot of people believe that there's child labor laws that apply to the 16 and 17-year-olds, and there really isn't. There's no restriction of the number of hours that they can work, or what time of day they can work or night they can work, or what occupations they can work in. And a lot of students get out there and want to make that money to buy that car or to do something special, and employers take advantage of that. We get a lot of calls from teachers who have students fall asleep in the middle of a class, or who fail to do their homework, and they tell them that they didn't get off work until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, that somebody didn't show up and they had to work extra, or something happened. And they asked me what can be done. And there's no law that really addresses that subject by itself. But one of the things that I think we need to stress, and will be about what tonight's program is about, is that the laws that pertain to adult workers also pertain to child labor, and also students, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. The same laws apply to them too. And again, we have a printed schedule here that we're going to go by.
So what are some of the laws that protect the 16-year-old and the older students? Are there laws out there that are going to protect them as far as like safety and
Yes, one of the first things I want to stress is that in Iowa and South Dakota and Nebraska, they are covered by the OSHA requirements, which require employers to provide a safe workplace for the students. We have an awful lot of students that are put in very unsafe working conditions, simply because they are students. The adults don't want to do it or will not do it, and they put the student there. They're covered by, in Iowa, they're covered by the laws of the state of Iowa. Iowa enforces the OSHA statutes instead of the federal government. In South Dakota and in Nebraska, the federal OSHA takes care of that. So if a student is working a job and they feel that it's unsafe, in our first program we told about the fryer that was shocking students. Then they can either ask the employer to correct it, and a lot of students don't have the gumption to do that, or they can have their parents or a relative or teacher or somebody help them write in or contact the Iowa Department of Iowa Workforce or the federal OSHA.
Wage collection. What about wage collection?
Wage collection is really important, and I used to go up to high schools and talk to classes about these things, and I'd always tell them that employers don't have the right to take things out of your check for gas drive-offs, for broken dishes, or bounced checks, or a customer that gets up and doesn't pay. That the employer does not have the right to take those out of your paycheck. And I used to see the head starting to bob out in the classroom, because practically everybody that worked as a student has had that happen to them. We had a gas station here. It used to take $7 a week out of everybody's paycheck to cover shortages, whether there was any shortages or not. And the Iowa law doesn't allow that. And if they're having problems with that, they can get on the website. We'll give you that information later. Get on the website and file a complaint or file a request for the proper wages. Employers can't withhold wages at all. That's
not allowed in the state of Iowa. Minimum wage.
Minimum wage, as we said in the last program, if it's during the first 90 days, they can pay the student $4.20 some cents. I forget what it is, but an hour for the first 90 days. I thought that was outrageous when I first learned that. But then they had to go to the state and the federal minimum wage, which is the same thing in Iowa, and would be the federal in Nebraska and South Dakota. But students do fall under minimum wage. If an adult would be paid overtime after 40, the student does too. So they're covered by that. They're also covered by the Civil Rights Act. And you know, this is one of the big important things I really wanted to stress, because we have a lot of female students who are working out in the working place, and because they are young and because they aren't too experienced, they got bosses that are hitting up on them or doing improper things. And under Iowa law, that's not allowed, even no matter how old the person is, that's not allowed, and there's ways to bring that to a stop. They don't have to give up those rights simply because they're young and they're a student. That goes for race, creed, color, national origin, age. Of course, it wouldn't apply to age, but disabilities at all. They're protected by that law too.
The National Labor Relations Act.
Yes, and this is a real important one, and this is what I tell the teachers when they call me, and that the 16-year-old has fallen asleep because they have to work so many hours. Is there anything they can do? And the answer is yes. There's no law that addresses that, but they can band together. 2 or 3 of the students can get together and go tell the employer that, look, our education is a primary important thing to us. And we're going to have to be getting off at a decent hour so we can get to our studies and get some sleep. That's protected by the National Labor Relations Act. That's concerted activity when 2 or more people, even students and kids, band together for mutual aid and protection. If the employer punishes them or fires them, then they can file a complaint with the federal government. So that's a way to correct any of the problems. If they're not getting paid holiday pay, if they're not getting paid any vacations, if they're not being given any breaks, there's no laws that apply to that. But through the National Labor Relations Act, if they band together, 2 or more together, they can then approach the employer and try to get those things. So it's really important that kids know that, the students know that.
Exactly. What about unemployment?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people don't believe that students are entitled to unemployment compensation, but they sure are. You can't quit a job to go back to school. In other words, you can't work in the summer and then quit and go back to school and draw unemployment. But if the employer discharges you, and we have this happen so many times in fast food places, that employers, for some reason, once a student's been there for so long, it's time for a change, and they'll fire the person for some crumped up reason. If that person has worked the required number of quarters, just like an adult, they're entitled to unemployment even though they're still going to school, because they have to be available and able to work during the hours that they work for that employer and earn those wage credits. That also goes if we have students that go out and will sell magazines, or they'll work a booth out at the mall or something like that, and when it's done and that closes up and the employer leaves and they're laid off, they're entitled to unemployment, and they might even be entitled to business closing benefits at that time. Unemployment can be applied if they can't get off school to apply for it. They can apply over the internet. It's real simple. And they'll have to go out and look for 2 jobs a week, just like an adult does. But it doesn't make any difference at all if they're going to school or not. So just because they're young and just because they're students doesn't mean that they've forfeited that right.
Are you available to present this information to like the junior and senior high schools?
Yes, we are, and we used to be invited to North High all the time. To talk to classes up there, and I found it, I totally enjoyed it, and it went over really big, because we stressed to workers there that not only do they have rights, but they have responsibilities, and we'll be getting to that in a minute. But yes, we're available. I'm retired now, and we've closed our office down, but we have maintained our educational function of workers' rights. So I'm available to come and talk to any high school class, Sunday school class, scouts, or anywhere where students gather. We're available to come talk to them about their rights in the workplace.
How would the students, the parents, teachers, or employers learn more about this?
We have an insert that we'd like to put up right now, and it gives the location and the telephone number and the email address of both the Iowa Workforce Development and also of the U.S. Department of Labor. But there's one website that you can get onto, and it has a link on there. It has a list of problems, and this organization doesn't take care of those problems, but it tells you where you can go and find the information.
Okay.
And that's really simple. It's www.nlrb, National Labor Relations Board, .gov/NLRB. And it'll give you a place where you can go find all that information.
Oh, okay. How important is work for a student?
You know, the first work experience is so important to the young person. And it's important that they go into it with the right attitude to do those things that us as parents have taught them to do, to be there on time, to do a good job, be proud of your work and things such as that. That establishes what their work is going to be like for the rest of their life. If they screw that up, if they're tardy, if they're absent and they get fired for that, I tell students that that's going to be on their record for a good 10 years. And whenever they apply for a job, they're going to ask, why did you leave that last job? It's real important. Work is really important. A good work record is really important. But feeling good about what you do is important also. We're about out of time. It goes by so fast.
It does.
But I'd like to thank Morningside College and Siouxland Media for the opportunity to do this cable show. We get the word out that students do in fact have rights in the workplace.
Yes, they do.
Thank you.